Oculus 2013. Oculus is basically about a brother and sister, Tim and Kaylee, who had the worst childhood ever, thanks to a creepy old mirror that loves ruining lives. When they were kids, their dad went full psycho under the mirror's influence, chained up their mom, and then everything ended in a bloodbath. Tim got sent to a psych ward and grew up being told it was all in his head, while Kaylee spent her adult life obsessively researching the mirror like it was her toxic ex. Fast forward 11 years, Kaylee drags Tim back to their old house with a master plan. Set up cameras, alarms, and a giant anchor on a timer to smash the mirror once and for all. Smart idea, except the mirror doesn't fight fair. It messes with their heads, makes them see things that aren't real, and keeps them running in circles. At one point, Kaylee thinks she's hugging her mom, but is actually hugging the mirror. Tim, thinking, finally I can end this, hits the kill switch. The twist is that the anchor doesn't hit the mirror at all. It kills Kaylee instead. Ouch. Cops show up, see the footage, and of course, it looks like Tim just murdered his sister. The mirror sits there, untouched, probably laughing its shiny face off. In the end, the demon totally wins by doing what it does best, tricking people into destroying themselves. The Exorcist, 1973. The Exorcist is about Regan, a sweet kid who suddenly turns into a nightmare for everyone around her after a demon named Pazuzu takes over her body. Her mom, Chris, does what any mom would, calls every doctor she can find. But when science shrugs and says, "Sorry, we've got nothing for spinning heads and flying furniture," she calls the church. That's when Fathers Marin and Karras show up. Marin is the veteran who's seen this kind of evil before, and Karras is the younger priest struggling with his faith. Together they take on Pazuzu, and it gets ugly fast. Marin doesn't make it out alive, and Karras, in a desperate move, taunts Pazuzu into possessing him instead. He then throws himself out the window, taking the demon with him. Regan is saved, her mom gets her daughter back, and it seems like good has won. But here's the catch. Pazuzu still kind of wins. He doesn't keep Regan, but he destroys 2 priests, wrecks a family, and leaves behind trauma that no one will ever forget. The demon's whole goal is chaos, and in that sense, its mission is accomplished. Regan walks away free, but Pazuzu still gets the last laugh. The Blair Witch Project, 1999. The Blair Witch Project follows 3 student filmmakers, Heather, Josh, and Mike, who head into the woods of Burkittsville, Maryland, to make a documentary about the Blair Witch legend. Before they go, they interview locals who share unsettling stories, including one about Rustin Parr, a hermit who murdered children and made another stand in the corner so they wouldn't watch. With their cameras rolling, the group sets out, expecting to capture spooky folklore rather than real danger. Once they're in the woods, things go wrong fast. They lose their way, the map becomes useless, and every night, strange noises keep them awake. They also find stick figures hanging from trees, which makes the tension grow even worse. As the days drag on, tempers flare, fear sets in, and then Josh suddenly disappears. Not long after, Heather finds a bundle tied with his shirt that contains teeth and hair, proof that something terrible has happened. On their last night, Heather and Mike hear Josh's screams and follow them to a decaying house that shouldn't even be standing. Inside, the walls are marked with handprints and symbols. Mike goes to the basement and falls silent. When Heather follows, she sees him facing the corner. Before she can react, she's attacked. The camera drops and the movie ends, leaving their fate a mystery. The movie never spells out what really happened. Maybe the Blair Witch killed them. Maybe Rustin Parr somehow returned. Maybe Josh was possessed. The ending traps the audience the same way it traps the characters, leaving us powerless, unsettled, and with nothing but the legend to explain their fate. The Grudge, 2004. The Grudge, 2004, is the American remake of the Japanese horror film Ju-On, The Grudge. The story begins with Peter Kirk, an American professor in Tokyo, who suddenly jumps off his balcony. Later, we discover he was the focus of Kayako Saeki's obsession. Kayako, a lonely housewife, had filled her diary with thoughts about Peter. When her husband Takeo found out, his jealousy turned murderous. He killed Kayako, their young son Toshio, and even the family cat. That violent act gave birth to the curse, binding their rage to the house forever. The curse works like an infection. Anyone who enters becomes its next victim. Yoko, a caregiver, is the first to vanish while looking after an elderly woman named Emma Williams. Karen Davis, an American student living in Japan, is sent to replace Yoko. Once inside, she senses something is terribly wrong. She finds Toshio wandering the house, sees Emma terrified, and soon realizes she has walked straight into the curse. From there, the deaths continue, consuming the Williams family and anyone connected to the house. In the end, Karen tries to break the cycle by burning the house down. She survives, but it's pointless. The house is still standing, and Kayako is still there. The curse remains unbroken, and the message is clear. Kayako always wins. The Mist, 2007. The Mist, 2007, drops us right into a nightmare. A fog rolls into town, and it's not merely weather, it's packed with giant, terrifying creatures that make stepping outside a death sentence. David Drayton, his son Billy, and a bunch of townspeople hole up in a supermarket. But the danger isn't just outside. Inside, panic turns people against each other, and fanaticism starts spreading faster than the mist itself. After days of fear and chaos, David decides there's no rescue coming. He grabs Billy and a small group of survivors and drives into the fog, hoping to outrun the chaos. But when the car sputters out of gas, reality sinks in. They're trapped. With only 4 bullets left, David makes a devastating choice. He shoots Billy and the others to spare them from being torn apart, planning to face the monsters alone. And then the movie's plot hits a punch in the gut. A tank shows up along with some soldiers. Rescue had finally arrived, just moments too late. The real terror in the movie wasn't the monsters, but hopelessness. It drove David to destroy the very thing he was trying to protect. The Exorcism of Emily Rose, 2005. Emily Rose was 19 when her life took a terrifying turn. Away at college, she began waking up every night at 3 a.m., smelling something burning and feeling like something was watching her. Soon, her body started convulsing. She saw horrifying visions, and even spoke in strange voices. Doctors thought it was epilepsy mixed with psychosis, but Emily and her family believed something far darker was happening. Her condition only got worse, and Father Richard Moore, a local priest, was asked to help. The Catholic Church approved an exorcism, and during the ritual, Emily revealed she wasn't fighting one demon, but 6, including Lucifer himself. The exorcism failed, and Emily's health collapsed until she died. After her death, Father Moore was charged with negligent homicide. In court, the prosecution argued that medicine could have saved her, while the defense insisted her possession was real. Moore didn't care about protecting himself. He only wanted Emily's story told. Emily once said the Virgin Mary gave her a choice: escape to heaven or stay and suffer as proof that demons exist. She stayed, but it didn't save her. In the end, the demons took her life, the exorcism failed, and evil walked away with the victory. Krampus, 2015. Max Engel used to love Christmas, but after being bullied and teased for still believing in Santa, he snapped. He ripped up his letter to Santa, wished the holiday would just go away, and that's exactly when Krampus showed up. Unlike Santa, Krampus doesn't bring gifts. He punishes anyone who's lost the Christmas spirit, and he doesn't come alone. Soon, Max and his family are under attack from evil gingerbread men, twisted toys, and an army of creepy elves. One by one, everyone is dragged into the snow until only Max is left. Krampus then hands Max a bauble made from his shredded letter, basically saying, "This is your fault." Max tries to make it right, begging the monster to take him instead and spare his cousin Stevie. For a second, it looks like Krampus might listen, but nope, he laughs, tosses Stevie into a fiery pit, and drops Max in after her. Right at that point, the twist comes. Max wakes up the next morning, safe in bed. His family is alive, Christmas is back on, and for a moment, he thinks it was all a nightmare. But when he opens a gift, inside is that same cursed bauble. Everyone suddenly remembers what happened. The camera pulls back, and we see the family trapped inside a snow globe on Krampus's shelf, just one of many. Krampus keeps them forever, and evil wins with a holiday cheer. The Wailing, 2016. The Wailing, 2016, begins in a quiet Korean village where people suddenly break out in rashes, lose their minds, and slaughter their families. Rumors spread about a Japanese stranger living in the mountains, but what starts as gossip quickly turns real as the deaths pile up. Jong-gu, a clumsy but well-meaning cop, is pulled in when his own daughter falls sick with the same symptoms. Desperate, he encounters three key figures: the stranger, who's linked to the murders, Il-gwang, a flashy shaman hired to help, and Moon-young, a mysterious woman who seems to be fighting to protect the village. The truth is darker than Jong-gu imagines. The stranger is collecting souls for a demon, and Il-gwang is secretly working with him, using fake rituals to strip away protections. Moon-young sets a trap to stop the evil, but it only works if Jong-gu trusts her and stays away from his home until dawn. Confused and manipulated, he chooses wrong. He rushes home, breaks the trap, and seals his family's fate. In the end, Jong-gu's daughter murders everyone. Il-gwang arrives to collect their souls, and the stranger reveals his true demonic form. Evil wins, and the cycle of death goes on. And if you thought this was bleak, wait until you see the next set of stories, where demons tear everything apart and leave only despair behind. Click on the screen to watch part 1 of When Demons Win. The most disturbing horror endings explained. I'll see you there.